this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here again with my collection papers, and hopefully this is going to be the final video. There is a huge pile on this in this video, so I'm going to try and get through them as quick as I possibly can. So there was part 1 and part 2, because I didn't want to kind of like overwhelm you showing all the papers in one hit. I'll see how this one goes as to whether we do them all in this one or not. But I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as I can, like I say. So let's just move them off to, well, I'm going to put them in my lap and we will get started on these. Right, okay, so in no particular order. So they're all printed on 120 GSM. So this is from my Love collection papers. This was my paper that I put out for Valentine's Day for this year. So very girly, very pretty, but I've also tried to incorporate images that aren't just for Valentine's Day. So you've got, obviously, you know, the ones with cherubs and things, or with the couples and things like that, I would class quite Valentine's-y. But then you've got other ones, I mean, like that, for example, I think you could use any time. You've got like this one, again, could use that anytime, you know. So you've got, I mean, this I think is more specific again for Valentine's Day. But so there's a range of different papers, and I have used these, I have to say, quite a lot, just to make pockets and things from the plainer papers, like this one, for example, or this one. You know, they make absolutely lovely pockets and things like that. So this one, of course, you've got the couples. I'm not saying that's just for Valentine's Day, but you know, it's more lovey, I suppose. But yeah, so you've got a range of mixes. So just quickly whiz through that as quick as possible. Okay, so I suddenly realised, I don't think I told you how many pages were in this. So this is the Love collection, and there's 31 pages. Sorry, I did forget that. So we've got the cherub pages, this gorgeous page here. Again, this one's quite nice for collage and things. Got this lovely page. I do find lots of the pages with the roses and things, they're really nice for doing collage. So yeah, a lot of the time, you know, that's another way that's quite nice to use, you know, printed papers and things, is in your collages, because you're going to get way more interesting looks than if you were just using, you know, I don't know, a plain page, for example. Okay. Like that. Okay, right, next one is the Hydrangea collection. So let me just try and keep these a little bit tidy at the side of my desk. Okay, so this one is the Hydrangea collection, and there are 35 pages in this. So again, whiz you through. And the other thing is, I think most of these are quite nice and mix and match with other pages in the collections. So I'm not necessarily saying, you know, that this Hydrangea collection goes well with that Love collection, for example, but you may find that pages in here go really nice, like with the Documents collection, or the Tea collection, or the what do you call it, the Clocks collection, things like that. So, you know, there's going to be like an overlap where some of them do, or, you know, all of them should coordinate with another couple at least of sets. So, you know, really kind of versatile papers. So again, obviously I was talking about in the previous videos some ideas of how to use these and things, because that was another part of the request of going through all of these. Oh, I'm so sorry about this one. Obviously you can see my printer has messed up the printing here. So yep, I've got a chunk here. So, oh gosh, and this one as well. Let's hope that's the last of these. That one as well, so please excuse that. So yeah, another kind of like way that you could use these, obviously alongside your collage, is things like put them together, 2 different papers for a pocket. You know, instead of just going always with, like, you know, the same paper for a pocket, if you've got folded parts, so you might have like a back and a front, maybe mix some of your different papers together, and then you're going to get really different looks. And, you know, just kind of like mixing up your pieces, I guess, to how they would normally look. So At the end of this video, if there is time, and obviously there are an awful lot of papers to get through today, so I don't know whether there will be time, but we will try and then have a look at sort of making a couple of style pockets that work really easily to, you know, mix and match. Right, I'm trying to tidy as I go. So, yeah. Okay, this is the Pale Damask. This is the second edition. So this is the second edition Pale Damask, and you get 40 pages on this. Now, again, another little thing that I didn't mention, or I may not have mentioned in other ones, but obviously we talked about the fact that I use the instant ink. And since using that, I may not have mentioned this, but I actually find that my papers coffee dye after the printing process. So in the past, before I had instant ink cartridges, I couldn't coffee dye my papers after they'd been printed because the ink would smudge. Since having the instant ink, the ink is of such a quality that I can actually get away with coffee dyeing after they're printed. So yeah, I mean, definitely that's another massive bonus of having the instant ink. And honestly, I mean, I'm not on commission or anything like that with instant ink. It's just that, you know, it's been such a sort of game changer with having the ability to print as much as I like. Oh, sorry about my, it's that one. I thought it was on here, but yeah, I mean, look at what's happened to this sheet of paper here. But again, obviously I've got the instant ink, so it's not a problem. I can just reprint another page. But that is another massive bonus. Oh, I've got a black mark down there for my printer. So, yeah, that's another massive bonus of having the instant ink, because sometimes in the past I've found that if I coffee dye my pages first and then try and run them through the printer, it can cause the printer to jam. Now, it's got to be said, I've not tried to print with coffee dyed paper for, you know, many years now, because I've just had the instant ink. So I have therefore coffee dyed afterwards. But that would be another bonus of obviously having the capability to coffee dye after the printing, is because obviously then you can just run your papers through and they're not going to be, you know, jamming up your printer or anything like that. So, and the other thing is, I don't know about you guys, but if I've spent the time coffee dyeing the paper, I then don't feel like I want to print on it, just in case, you know, like sometimes papers can look too dark once they're coffee dyed. And if that's the case, I hate the fact that I've then wasted the paper that I spent the time, you know, coffee dyeing. So for me personally, I really like to be able to coffee dye after the printing. I'm still being good, tidying up as I go. So this one is the Vintage Documents Set 2. So it's Vintage Documents Set 2, and you get 30 pages of this. This one I really, really, really love, I have to say. So this is another one that very, very versatile, and it goes pretty much with, I would say, almost every single paper, collection paper, you know, what's the word? Edition of the collection papers. So yeah, definitely this is the versatile one, and really, really, really love this. Now, where else was I going with that? Yes. So another tip about the coffee dyeing. So this is again something that I've just started doing more recently, is often the papers, you know, they're such a beautiful colour and things that the coffee dyeing can sort of, you know, well, affect the colour, you know, and it doesn't then look so pretty. So what I have done recently is, if especially they're a, you know, particularly pretty kind of vibrant colour, what I have started doing is I just coffee dye the back. So if I've not printed on the back, for example, I'd take this one. This is actually a bad example, because this would coffee dye brilliantly, but let me take one that I think, oh, the paper's gorgeous colours, and oh, sorry, the paper's gorgeous colours, and I wouldn't want to lose the colours. Oh, struggling to find one. Okay, so let's say this one. You know, I may absolutely love that with the shades of lilacs and pinks, and not want to actually kind of dull that down or sort of take that colour out of that at all. So what I've started doing quite a bit, if I haven't printed on the back, I just literally coffee dye the back of this. Some of it will seep through to the front, but not all of it. you know, not to the extent of if I were coffee dyeing the front as well. So that's kind of quite a nice little tip that I would say for if you didn't want to kind of like spoil the, you know, the look of the colour. Because sometimes I have done that in the past, and obviously it's not so bad with the digital because you could just then reprint it if you thought, well, actually, I liked it better with the vibrant look. But sometimes I've done it in the past with like a scrapbook paper that then obviously, you know, once it's ruined, it's ruined. And I'm not saying it's ruined, but, you know, it's then altered the colours to the point that maybe they don't look so vibrant and I preferred them, you know, previously. And the benefit of obviously coffee dyeing just one side is the coffee dyeing process. It sort of changes the texture of the paper and it sort of makes it feel much more vintage. So, you know, that's why I would sometimes still coffee dye the back, even though you may be thinking, well, why does she bother at all? This one is the Avery and it's in the pink and duck egg. And this one is a 20-page collection. So the reason why I would do that is because it then gives the paper a much more vintage feel from having the coffee dyed. Now, another little tip that I would say, and this is going to sound very strange, if you loved the colours and you didn't want to ruin the colours at all and you printed on both sides, I haven't got any here that are double-sided, but if I'd printed on both sides and I thought, oh, you know, I don't want to coffee dye any of it because, you know, the colours are so vibrant and so gorgeous, you know, I don't want to dull them down with the coffee dyeing. But I do still want to have the more vintage texture of the paper that has been coffee dyed. Then what you could do is just wet your paper with water. So instead of like, you know, actually coffee dyeing your paper. So, you know, if I'm doing it, say, on a mass volume, I might do it in a big lasagna tray and put the paper in and take it out. What you could do is instead of having a coffee dyed tray, you know, lasagna tray of water, you have just a plain tray of water. So, you know, a plain lasagna tray just filled with water without the coffee. And then what you would then do is obviously dunk your paper in, and the whole paper, you know, both sides, if this were, you know, double-sided, would be then, you know, saturated, and then you could iron them. And that will give you that nice sort of crumbly, vintagey type texture, but without actually altering your colour at all. So that's another sort of tip that I would just mention, is just, you know, if you're loving the colours and you think, oh, I don't want to, you know, dull these down at all with coffee, but I do want that vintage texture, that would be, you know, another little way to do it. Right, so that was the Avery in the pinks and duck eggs. This one is the Avery in the natural. So this is natural Avery, and this one is 25 pages. And again, all of these Avery collections, they all have an overlap and will go with one another. So, for example, this one is from the set we just saw with the duck eggs and pinks, but you've got some of the brown birds. So they would overlap and work together, you know, and then you could obviously have kind of different looks in your journals and things by having, you know, just one, maybe a complete journal just using the naturals. Then you might have another journal where you've got touches of the naturals but mixed with some of the other colours. This one, for example, you know, you've got a couple of touches of the duck egg in here, which obviously is straight away going perfectly with the other one. So, you know, a lot of fun can be had with sort of mixing and matching all the different sets and things. So I'm not sure how many collections that I've actually got now, to be honest, but lots and lots. You know, obviously people do sometimes send in, you know, requests and message me with ideas and say, oh, I'd love to see a collection of this. And, you know, that's kind of how they evolve and things. So, you know, if you've got any particular collections that you would love to see, then do obviously message in and, you know, kind of say a suggestion that you would really like to see. I can't guarantee, obviously, that I'd be able to do it, but if I could, if it was in my capabilities, then I'd definitely try. But I have got a little list already, you know, from requests and things that I'm still yet to complete. So yeah, they're kind of like evolving all the time. So that was the Avery natural papers. This one here is the Avery in blue, and this one is absolutely gorgeous. And again, I found this to be quite lovely in collage and things. So these lovely flowers, they are absolutely gorgeous in collages. You know, they just add a really, really lovely kind of touch to the collage pages. So, and again, you can see we've got tones or touches of the other colours. So again, this is going to all coordinate perfectly with the other ones. And then you've got some lovely neutrally kind of pages. I love frames. Lots of lovely blues. So this one, actually, this is a perfect example to show actually of, you know, this is already quite a vintage looking page. So I personally wouldn't necessarily want to coffee dye this because it looks quite vintage already. So if this were, let's just say, you know, double side printed, I would maybe just wet that and iron it so it had a crumply feel. If it were just single side printed, I would maybe just coffee dye the back so that the front didn't get coffee dyed. And the other thing is, do experiment around with how much coffee that you want in your coffee dyed mixture. So mine, I vary. I tend to use maybe like 2 you know, quite heaped teaspoons, the smaller spoons, per like quite a biggish cup. But because I leave my coffee dye, like, you know, behind my desk, if I'm not doing kind of like a big volume of it, then what I then do is I water it down every so often, because actually it seems to kind of concentrate, or, you know, get more concentrated as time goes by. So what starts as reasonably neutral, you know, after like 5 days, it might be much darker than it originally started out. So that's another little kind of thing to just watch out for is, you know, if you're coffee dyeing and it's been sat there for a while, it may have a much more concentrated sort of effect than it did previously. So that's the Avery blue, which I really love. Right, this is the bees in the blues and greens. Now, I did do the bees topper printables, so for free. So yeah, if you haven't grabbed any of those, they are on my, I think they're on my Buy Me a Coffee website. They're also on my Ko-fi website, and they're also on my shabbydabbydoodah.co.uk website. So if you haven't grabbed those toppers, do get some. They coordinate perfectly with these papers. So yeah. Now, this is the bees in the... Oh, now I'm looking. I haven't written these down. Oh, I wrote it on the piece of paper. That's why. Yes. Right, so this is the bees in the blues and greens, and you get 24 pages. I thought, well, that's weird. I can't see the amount of pages written anywhere. You get 24 pages on this one. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is one of those kind of videos where obviously it's quite, you know, talk intensive. So I just had to quickly cough a little bit and splutter from my dry throat from talking. So yeah, this one, absolutely love this. I'm in the middle of making a folio at the moment using these papers, and I just absolutely love them, which is weird because, I mean, I'm not really a fan of wasps and bees, to be honest. I know wasps, completely different thing to bees, but hey, in my head, they're all just the same. I know that they're not, and yeah, I'm probably upsetting some people by saying that, but yeah, to me, I just think, oh, they're all things that buzz around. They're both black and yellow, and, you know, they're all going to kind of like sting you. I know that bees don't obviously sting you unless you're kind of threatening them, but yeah, yeah, even though I don't love bees, to be honest, I do love these papers, and I do love the toppers that I, you know, put out as the freebie. So yeah, do head over and pick some of those up. Right, this one here is the bees in the lilacs, and again, you get 24 pages on here. And again, what you will see is that these will overlap and mix and match really nicely with the other set. So, I mean, basically, I just had to cut them down because I'd made so many, and this was a bit like with the Avery. I've made so many pages that, you know, in order for it to actually fit as a sort of printable, I had to split them. So, you know, that's why they're kind of in more than one set. So this is the bees in the lilac. You've got these gorgeous collage pages in this one. So you've got one with, you know, yeah, one with the topper type pieces. So these are the topper type pieces that you get in the freebie toppers. And this one, obviously, without the freebie toppers. But yeah, so aren't they just such a pretty paper? I really, really do love those. I love these designs as well. And again, these are going to be lovely for like collage and things because they've got some really pretty flowers and some pretty colours in these. Really love them. And to be honest, you know, because obviously these pages are so pretty, it's just toning down the fact that it's got bees on there. So yeah, the bees also become quite pretty as a sort of side thing. But yeah, I really do love these. So yes, I must get on with my folio. In fact, this has now jogged my memory that, oh, I must get on with that, to be honest. I'd not got on with it because I'd been meaning to print some more of the toppers, and I'd run out of the photo paper to be able to print the toppers on. But yeah, I must get on with that now. So loads of gorgeous pages. And the other thing is I've tried to incorporate more neutrally kind of pages along with the big patterns on the pages as well. In all of these collections, you know, you'll have kind of a mixture of a few what I would call sort of more backgroundy pages with a few with, you know, big main feature type objects on. Like this one, for example. I mean, this would look awesome on, you know, in a journal just folded in half like that, just with some ruffle or something like that down the side. Or what you could do is you could print this out twice. So, you know, this is a page and then you could print it out twice, fussy cut around the frame type part here and like pop it on there like a bit of a sort of decoupage type item, you know, things like that. So you can always play around with the pieces, which is another bonus of digitals as opposed to scrapbook paper. Because of course, you know, if you had scrapbook paper, you know, you're not going to have the ability to just, you know, accumulate more of those pages. So you can't necessarily experiment around as much as you can with digitals, because you can obviously print them different thickness pages. You can print different amounts of pages and all of that kind of stuff. Right, this is the Capital collection and this is 33 pages. Now I have to say this is one of my actual all-time favourite printables that I've ever done. It's got these images of these Capitol monuments from different US states. Now, unfortunately, I cannot remember where any of them actually are or anything like that. So if you spot one, say in the chat down below what that monument is, where it is. Is it in your home state? You know, that would be very exciting and really cool to hear. But I absolutely love these papers. And again, I have made a couple of, I think a couple of folios out of these, which, oh my goodness, I just loved so much. So yeah, I have used these papers so much already. I absolutely love them. You've got a couple of collage pages, again, slightly different ones. So these are fantastic for, again, I would print this out on a thickish piece of paper. And, you know, so like a photo quality, like 230 GSM. And then I would just tear these out to use as like toppers on tags and on pockets and things like that. So absolutely love, love, love these. But you've also got obviously lots of pages with like, you know, bigger items and things. And you've also got lots of plainish background pages as well that you can use. So again, brilliant for collaging and things like that. So absolutely love, love, love this set so much. Really, really cool. And there's also a topper set for this. There's another collage page, again, different again. So yeah, see if you can spot, now that these are kind of like biggish on the screen, can you spot any of the monuments from your home state? I don't know. I don't know where they are. Oh, that one, look, capital of Alabama. Alabama. So that one's actually in there. This is the capital of Kansas. I think that says Mississippi. And that one's Ohio. Yeah, so some of them have got the capitals still written on there, but aren't they gorgeous? What lovely buildings. I always love to have you know, building images. I think they just look really, really lovely. And this one, all different colours. So again, you've got kind of like lilacs and things in here, and you've got quite blue pages. You've got the quite green pages. So, you know, gives you the possibilities to go in lots of directions with this one as well, which that's always just really fun, isn't it, to have like versatility with your, or drawn from your papers. So yeah, really, really love these. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? I love this page as well. So this one is also, I think it's upside down. This one is also very, very good for things like collage. You know, again, just a neutral page to have in the background. You know, as collage kind of papers. Again, another sort of neutral one for papers, you know, for collaging papers and things. So yeah, loads of yummy papers in this one. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what people's favourite papers are, to be honest. So, you know, is there like a set that really stands out for you? Which ones, you know, which ones do you really like? So this one is the Paris collection papers. So we had the French collection papers. That was one of the first ones I ever designed. And then this one is the Paris collection. So, and again, I find myself using these really often too. I do absolutely love these. And just like with the Capital collection, there's loads of images that you could then print these onto a thicker paper and tear out the like monuments to use as toppers and things like that, which I just love that. This page, again, I've used this loads of times in either as making pockets or torn out elements for collage. It just works really, really well. So yeah, I love these. Yeah, so let me know, is there like a standout collection for you, you know, either from today or from like all three of the collection videos that I've put up, if you've seen them all, you know, which one do you like the best? And, you know, did you have like, you know, I mean, I don't know whether we just don't get 12 by 12s or are they sort of dying out everywhere? So I'd be quite interested to hear, you know, are they dying out everywhere, or do you still have plenty of them wherever you live? But, you know, throughout all those 12 by 12 paper pads, was there ever a standout one that you just absolutely loved? You know, was there a favourite one? And what was it? What was it? Who was it by? You know, why did you love it? I mean, I loved loads of them, to be honest. I've got loads of kind of favourites, but I always quite liked the K & Company pads. I thought they were absolutely gorgeous. And the, oh gosh, what were they called? Oh, I'm trying to think of the brand. It was Prima ones. They were absolutely lovely. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't think of the other brands. I love the Stamperia papers and things. They're gorgeous, always gorgeous. And their papers have a lot of very big images on, you know, and those are ones that definitely, you know, I struggle then to cut into them because I don't want to use that big image. It's like, oh no, I've only got one of those, I don't want to use it, you know. So yeah, these are brilliant because you get lots of obviously images. I can't remember whether I said that this Paris collection has 35 pages, so it's quite a whopper again. So, but yeah, I use this one really a lot. I would say this is one of my favorites. I think that bees one is going to become a favorite. Have I been showing these twice now? Am I going through these a second time? Oh, I think I am. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. I hadn't noticed until I got to that collage page and I thought, oh, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I've shown that collage page before. And I then suddenly realised that I think I must have printed this out twice. Let's just check. Yes. So, yeah, I'm obviously now showing this twice, although I maybe... Yeah, I think we've been through all of those pages, haven't we? So, yes, so that's the Paris collection papers. Right, 35 pages you get in those. The next one is the Documents collection, and this is the Vintage Documents Set 1. So this was my first Documents collection that I made. And again, I really use this a lot. Hold on. I'm so sorry, that was my mum and dad. So, yes, I'm just going to quickly do these. Then I'm meeting them, and then I'll come back and finish the rest when I get back. So, yeah, I do use these an awful lot as well. And I have to say, what I really love doing with these, you know, brilliant for collage, brilliant for pockets, things like that. And I also love just cutting out like one line from titles and address parts and things, and then you can kind of put them on as like a banner for, you know, on pieces, on toppers, on pockets and things like that. So, you know, they've got, again, loads of different opportunities and loads of different coloured bits, you know, like for example here you've got some in this lovely green colour, you've got some in this brown, here we've got, you know, pinks, blue, all different colours and things. So you're going to have loads of opportunities to be using those. The bigger ones, again, you know, perfect for things like collage and making pockets and things like that. So loads and loads of different pieces and different bits that you can do with these. And another thing that I really love doing with these documents ones, and the other documents one actually, is again cut down like a section. So, you know, for example, this piece, or you could cut this piece out, you could cut like this section here, you know, this section here, and then you can make them into little like flippy type ephemera bundles. So they're really, really useful for things like that, to be honest. And again, you could obviously print these onto thicker paper and use them, you know, cut them out in the same way, but sort of as tag bases and things like that. You could use them as pockets. I mean, for example, this, you could just print that on thicker paper, cut that all out and just use that as a pocket, maybe some lace on the top, some bling, maybe a butterfly. That would be a pocket. You know, again, you could take this piece here and then you could make that into like a little journal card, or you could do it this way and that would be a perfect base for a tag. You know, things like that are ideal ways to use these. Or this one, this also would lend itself perfectly to a sort of tag. So they're quite a versatile thing. And again, also the documents, and I mean, I would say the documents, both sets, so both sets of the documents, any of the damask papers, the polka dot papers, all of those, all of the lace collection, which I had showed in the first time that I did the collection papers, you know, but obviously I only had limited numbers of collection papers at that point. They are all perfect, what I would call like essential backgrounds, you know, that you can just mix and match with anything and everything. Some of the other ones I would say are more things, you know, to get like later. So if you were building up from scratch, I would say like the documents, the polka dots and the damask, maybe the lace, they're all the things to have just in your absolute basic. Sorry, there were 30 pages in that documents collection. I can't remember whether I said that. And then this one is the clocks collection, and there's 42, huge 42 pages in here. So yeah, I would say if you're just building up your stash at the moment of digitals and, you know, you didn't know where to start, I would recommend with some of the basic pages, so like the documents and things like that, and then build on them as you go through. So, you know, things like, say, like the bees collection or the Paris collection, or, you know, even these like the clocks collection, you can do a load of different things with all of those types of things, and they will all work really nice with your documents, your damask and your polka dot pages, you know, the totally dotted pages. They're all going to work really well together, and you could get so many different looks just from having, you know, those few kind of collections, really. You know, and then obviously when you're expanding, obviously then kind of go crazy. That's just kind of like a starting point, how I would sort of say, you know, to get the best from your value for money when starting out. But of course, obviously, you know, it's up to you, obviously, how you kind of like build your collection up. But, you know, I would sort of say some are sort of more, oh gosh, I don't know how to describe these things. So yeah, like more basic background type elements, and some are more like would be extra, you know, extra pieces that are lovely to have, and are then going to work really perfectly with your background elements. So, you know, that's kind of how I would kind of go about, you know, building up a collection if I was starting from scratch myself. Obviously I do have the 2 Junk Journal Basics kits, which have got like anything and everything all in them. There's a set 1 and there's a set 2, so they're also another really great place to start if you're just building up your collection of paper and things, you know, because again, you know, get lots of people comments and lots of messages saying, you know, I'm only just starting out, I don't have much in my stash, you know, where would you start? Sort of what would you start with? So that's kind of a starting place. Or like I say, the Junk Journal Basics set 1 and set 2, they're a brilliant starter kit, and you are going to have so many different looks that you can just pull together from just those, you know, those 2 kits, or from, you know, or just one of those 2 kits, or from just the, you know, the handful of collections that I did just kind of mention, you know, and then obviously you can build on from that. But that would be a brilliant starting point. And especially if you, for example, got, you know, let's just say you got the Totally Dotty and the documents and, you know, the clocks collection, for example, you know, you've straight away got various different background type pieces. You've got pieces for collaging, and you've got pieces that you can use as toppers. You know, for example, like here, you could use this as a topper if you printed this, like say 4 to a page. You could take, you know, different clocks and pieces, you know. So yeah, that's kind of how I would perhaps start. Right, I will be back with the others. Yes, it's got a lot of the kind of larger images that you can make, things like the flippy pads and things like that. And again, don't forget, by printing sort of multiple pages, like 2 pages to a page and things like that, you can then have different size flippy pads and things. So there's also a topper pack to go with this one, where you've got quite a few framed ladies and things, and you've got some plain ladies just on large pages, which again you could kind of shrink down and things. So lots of yeah, different kinds of topper type options for these ones. Again, this is another set that I've used really quite a bit since I've made this, and I have mixed this a little bit with the Capital collection. I know that sounds strange because now I'm looking at it, I think, oh, did I? But yes, yes, I did, bizarrely. So yeah, but I'm just going to show you quickly again, you know, just bringing in, like, for example, the damask. Don't they look really good together? So, you know, basic pages like those are going to look good with most things. So yeah, they go really nice, don't they? And then more of the pages. So again, and I do feel like I'm constantly repeating myself in this video, but you've got different colorways that you could go. So for example, you know, here we've got lots of the yellows and sort of creams and things. You've also got the blues, so you could go down a much bluer sort of route. So, you know, that I think is quite nice to have different looks. Again, more of the blue shade ones. I mean, they're really pretty papers, aren't they? I'm still baffled, thinking, oh, I wonder what made me put these with the Capital collection. But honestly, they did look good together. So yeah, it sounds really odd now I'm saying it, but it did look good together. I mean, to be honest, the flip throughs probably somewhere on my channel. I think they were photos that I made using the combination. Oh my goodness, who knows what's gone on this page. Obviously that was a page which you can just see beneath it with the ladies collection, but of course it's got the don't know what that is, whether that's the Valentine's collection on top, who knows. But anyway, oh, and the perfume collection on the back, just for good measure. So yeah, let me just move that one out of the way. Again, you've got one of these pages, which I absolutely love, these types of pages, because you've got loads of the ladies that you can use on all different types of things. So if I was using this one, for example, I would print this out on the thicker paper. So again, something like the 230 GSM, and then I would just tear around these. I would maybe cut some out as sort of more like journal cards, but definitely the ones that are sort of more squished in, I would like just tear around them. And then I would use them on clusters, on snippet strips, on paper clips, all those kinds of things. So, you know, really handy kinds of pages to have. So, and you've got 2 of those in their slightly different colorways. So, you know, for different types, yeah, types of projects. And this one's obviously also got the addition of butterflies and things like that on. So, you know, and then you've got this one, and then you've got this one, which is similar to this one. Oops. This one again, but obviously it's in the different colorway again. So, you know, maximizing sort of different options really. So, and then you've got these collage pages as well, which again, absolutely love all these types of options. And you've got one with, you know, the butterflies and things on it, and the teacup and things, and one plainer version there as well. So that's the ladies collection. Right, we are on the home stretch. Last one. This has felt like a right mammoth marathon. Okay, so this is the Lavender collection. Okay, so this one is, it's lovely lavender, and it's 35 pages. Okay, so going to quickly run through this. So again, you've got lots of different types of looking pages. You've got some collage type pages, and then you've got lots with, you know, sort of fussy cuttable elements and things out in those as well. You've got the collage page with the flowers on as well. And then you've also got, like this one, for example, you do have a cottage on there, but, you know, I would say this one's a plainer sort of page that you could easily make, you know, pockets and things from. This one as well. I love the addition of the yellow. I'm so sorry if you keep hearing my phone bleeping, you know, there's a family chat going on at the moment. So, yeah, I do apologise for that. Everyone's going on holiday, and yeah, they're all texting. So yeah, I love the addition of the yellow. I love the car as well in this one, as very pretty, isn't it? But aren't these gorgeous flowers? I love them. I mean, yeah, I don't know whether they're a real type flower. I don't know. Maybe they're a rose. I don't know what they are. My flower knowledge is not the best, it's got to be said. Love this with the label here as well. And then you've got some slightly different sort of colorways. So more like a like muted lavender, I suppose, with this polka dot sort of pattern in the background. This one, you've got some here with the like watering cans and things, which are very cute. Absolutely love this page for some reason. Yeah, it's one of my favorite pages, like probably ever. I just really like that. It's so pretty. And then you've got a similar page again, but without the yellow flowers. So, you know, just to give you variations and kind of different options. I do really love it with the yellow though, I have to say. Really nice, which is weird because I'm not really a yellow fan. You've got this one again, slightly different, sort of more muted type version. This one here, which again I would say, you know, kind of plainer. You could make pockets and things from this one. This one again, sort of plainer. And when I say plainer, I realize it's obviously got a lot of stuff. What I'm saying it hasn't got like a big focal point like a lady or anything like that on it. Again, a sort of, you know, plainer type option. This one here, which again is sort of muted in that it's like a lilac-y colour. Okay, so we've got this one here, which this one's got the addition of the creamy colour. This one with the frames, which, I mean, I'm just a sucker for frames, honestly. This one here. This one with much more of a sort of purpley background. This one, which I love, very cute with the purpley background with the little doors on it. This one with the doors / gates, I don't know, really, gates, I suppose. This one with the ladies. This one I love with the cart. And then this one, which is very similar, but you've just got the addition of like some extra grass type details and things in the background. So that is it. That is all of the collection papers. That was just like a real marathon, wasn't it? So they're all available, obviously, on my Etsy shop. The long-term plan is that I will be putting them into my, you know, website shop, but yeah, it's going to take me a very long time to do that. So at the moment they're all available on my Etsy shop. I really hope that that's been really helpful, because obviously I had been requested, you know, to show them all, and yeah, hope that you had fun, hope you felt inspired seeing all those lovely papers, and yeah, would love to hear your thoughts below. Really appreciate a big thumbs up for this video, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much then. Bye.